What's going on, guys? Super Savage 789 here, bringing you guys a video. And today doing What If Luke Survived episode 1. Now, the reason Luke had died in canon was due to an injury he had taken against the Russians in episode 5. The gunshot wound in his leg left him helpless when on the ice, leading to his unfortunate demise. So we'll say that Clementine, laying down cover fire on the Russian shooting at Luke, did the trick of letting him across safely. From here, the next couple scenes with the group go the same, all the way up until crossing the ice. Since Luke isn't injured, he won't get stuck, and so he's able to walk away and get to the house alongside everyone else. He'd probably tell Kenny to lay off beating on Arvo, but it doesn't really lead to much. Like in canon, Mike, Bonnie, and Arvo escape, and Clementine ends up shot. The trio are scared off, and the group of Jane, Kenny, Luke, and AJ, and Clementine all set off in the truck. With Jane and Kenny's constant arguing, Luke will be doing his best to try and break up the arguing. They are all that's left, so what's the point in fighting with each other? Clementine can then either choose to side with Luke and be impartial, or side with Kenny or Jane. They end up coming across the cars, and Kenny leaves to go get gas. Luke also goes out there with him, handing AJ to Jane, and telling her to keep him safe. Jane tells Clementine they should leave, and the young girl asks, what about Luke? To that, Jane goes silent, not knowing the right words to answer that question. Before she gets the chance to, gunshots can be heard, and Jane tells Clem to drive. They crash, and Clementine finds Luke and Kenny. Jane ends up hiding AJ and returns, telling them he died. Kenny runs out to confirm this, while Luke begins to blame himself, apologizing to Rebecca and Alvin for letting them down. When Kenny returns, he tells Jane that he's going to kill her. She draws a knife for self-defense, but Kenny doesn't seem like he wants to back down. Trying to stop this, Luke tells Kenny to calm down, but gets a punch in the face, telling him to stay out of this. It lets Jane get slashed off on Kenny across his shoulder, which Clementine has to push her away from. Kenny and Jane have their fight like normal, Clementine doing her best to try and keep everyone alive. For the most part, Luke tries not to fight, but after a while, he realizes that the bloodlust on Kenny is too much. The fight drags on much longer than canon, but ultimately leads to Kenny pinning Jane down and trying to stab her. Luke grabs his machete and rushes at Kenny from behind to stop him, and Clementine gets the fatal choice. Shoot Kenny or shoot Luke. If you shoot Luke, then the bullet hits him in the side, hitting him in a fatal point, causing him to collapse. It allows for Kenny to then kill Jane. Clementine rushes over to Luke, trying to stop the bleeding. Luke tells her though that it's okay. Now he can be with the others. Share a beer with Pete, tell Nick about how great he was as a business partner, make up to Carlos and Sarah for letting him down, and apologize to Alvin and Rebecca for AJ. As Clementine weeps, Luke closes his eyes and unfortunately passes on. Kenny tells Clementine that he didn't mean for Luke to die. Clementine then gets the option to shoot him or choose dialogue. AJ then cries and Clementine either goes off alone or goes with Kenny. Then she either stays at Wellington or leaves with Kenny. Now let's back up a bit. If you shoot Kenny, then Clementine does just that. She rushes over to his aid and they have the usual interaction before he ends up passing. Luke says that he's sorry that she had to do that, but Jane tells her she did the right thing. Alternatively, if you do nothing, then Luke ends up stabbing Kenny through the neck with his machete before he can kill Jane. He quickly pulls it out of Kenny's neck, horrified at what he did. Jane tries to tell Luke that he did the right thing, and Clementine can either agree or be mad. Either way, AJ cries and Jane explains her situation to them. She begs for forgiveness, and while I'm sure Luke would, it is up to Clementine if she would forgive or not. If she doesn't and leaves, then you get the ending of Clementine and AJ being alone. If you go with them, then the four of you all go to House and meet the family. While Jane is skeptical, Luke says that they should let them in. Again, it is up to Clementine to decide if they let them in or not. The flashbacks with Jane from the New Frontier then occur. First them fighting off walkers, and then the dark demise of Jane. Luke, Clementine, and AJ all enter at the same time and see this. Luke begins to cry, but the worst is yet to come. He sees the pregnancy test on the floor and picks it up, realizing that Jane was pregnant. His girlfriend and unborn baby died in a matter of seconds, and he had no way of preventing it. Clementine then gets the option to shoot, but if you take too long, Luke just does it himself. The thing with Jane begins to warp Luke just a bit. It cements in his mind that family is more precious than he first thought, and that they all need to look out for each other. And it also makes him realize that they need to avoid death if they can, whether it be from themselves or others. Now, in typical Walking Dead fashion, Luke would more than likely die to a horde of walkers before the New Frontier. However, this is a what if Luke survived, so he will survive, as the title suggests. The trio end up leaving House, as they had too many bad memories there for them now, so they'd begin to move through forests and stuff, arriving in the wooden shack that Clementine and AJ end up in canon. Ava begins knocking on the door, and Luke doesn't hesitate to let her in, not giving Clementine the choice. Ava gets to talking with him and ultimately offers him a place in the New Frontier. Luke believes that this is a good idea and tells Clementine that it'd probably be best for AJ. It is Clementine's choice to either agree with Luke or disagree with him. We then arrive in the episode 3 flashback, where you have to get AJ medicine. Luke tells Clementine that he'll cover her, and she nods, where she sneaks over. Lingard wakes up, and you get the choice to inject AJ or not. If you don't, Luke will shake his head at what she did, not seeing it as the right thing to do. This baby will die, and now even Clementine's giving up on it? He rushes out the bushes when everyone comes over, and he tries to keep David calm, but he does nothing. The New Frontier still kick them out and take AJ, given the option to say goodbye to him. Clementine can spit at David, which Luke complains about, as that was their last chance to see the baby they've been raising. The flashback in episode 4 arrives with Ava, and then that plays out, pretty much the same. Luke and Clementine begin roaming around, trying to find a reason to live. Along the way, they'd end up at Prescott, where they'd meet people like Trip and Conrad. Seeing this as a safe place to be, Luke tells Clementine they should stay there, and so the duo begin living at Prescott. The duo constantly go out and scavenge for the group to get stuff like fuel, food and water, where they are quite successful. One night, they sneak into a junkyard and spot a group of people with guns, holding up a guy. Luke comments how that's Javier Garcia, a famous baseball player, and Clementine comments how it's Max, who has him captured. They watch closely as Javi is knocked out and kidnapped by Rufus. They spring into action and use a car they had to get ahead of them and cause a tree to fall into the road, causing them to crash. Rufus attempts to escape, and it is up to Javi if he dies or not. Instead of Javi getting robbed, Luke uses a machete and cuts him free, asking if he's alright. They explain who they are to him, and he can either be grateful or be worried that they're some kind of bandits. They tell Javi they came to help him get back to his family, and the trio go back to Prescott to rest. I'm sure the faulty bullet scenario still occurs, and Javi can either choose to defend Clem or not. Luke would apologize to Trip for their actions, and Trip says that next time, he'll be kicking them out for this. Javi chooses whether to go with Eleanor or Trip, and either way they arrive at the junkyard. Mariana still dies and Kate's still shot, leading to Javi deciding to stay and fight or leave with his family. If you stay, you take down the few remaining men, while the likes of people like Badger make a getaway. You then bury Mariana with Luke and Clementine trying to console you. If you leave, then you help assist in Kate's surgery like in Canon. The New Frontier men attack Prescott and the group all make a getaway. And from here, the majority of episode 2 is very similar to Canon, however Luke is just there. You'd probably get a scene where you can talk to Luke and he can remark something about Jane or Kenny or something like that, but not much beyond that. A change then arises when Luke and Clementine confess to Javier that they are part of the New Frontier. Conrad turns to them and tells Javi that they should turn them in as bargaining chips. Luke begins talking to Conrad, trying to calm him down. There's no need for violence, they can all just be calm and talk it out. They know each other, he knows Luke and Clem won't turn on them. If they hid it, they probably did it for a good reason, like exactly what's happening now. As Javier, you can either keep your gun pointed on Conrad, or try and help convince him alongside Luke. Either way, however, Conrad is talked down, meaning that no matter what, he survives this moment. Everyone exits the sewers and arrives at Richmond, where they would go to the gates and attempt to get in. That would end up going normally, with David stepping out and seeing his brother. And that's going to be him. You should like and subscribe and comment below. I'll subscribe in the next episode. As you can see, I'm really trying to get these Walking Dead what ifs off the ground. I really enjoyed this idea. I think I did it quite well. Let me know if you have any ideas for part 2. And yeah, bye!